He's had a real problem with Elon from the beginning of this thing, but it's like he's in this leftist thought bubble. He is in the most leftist thought bubble available, which is Hollywood. And, and I think also, he famously, there's some videos of him in blackface, and those came out, and he had to apologize for them. And I think he took that hit and like really doubled down the other direction.
Jimmy Kimmel's a loser. I do Jimmy Kimmel. I did him a lot. Yeah. And he'd be standing on the sidewalk. Oh, sir, may I bring you in? He'd bring me in every time. The whole show is talking bad about Trump.
He called us doofuses when we had you on.
He's a group of doofuses in flat-brimmed hats.
Guess what? We
ask him how many.
What he did.
Ask him. Yeah, you do bigger. Yeah, you do. His show's dying.
Jimmy Kimmel just got hit with a wild $500 million lawsuit from President Trump, and Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly are loving every second of it. Rogan rips Kimmel apart like a comic dying on stage, while Kelly cuts through his Hollywood ego with brutal precision. From cocky rants to courtroom chaos, this isn't just a roast, it's a full-on public meltdown. Strap in. Kimmel's crash and burn just became late night's most savage spectacle yet.
I mean, I struggle to even mention that guy's name. He's such an absolute, I can't stand him. But anyway, it's just my thought bubble out loud. We took a look at some of their reactions to the news of Trump's win. Look at this.
Hey there. How are you doing? If you watch the show regularly, I'm guessing you're not doing great. Yeah, me neither.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate. It was a terrible night for poor people, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO.
You know how much it costs to produce Jimmy Kimmel's show? I guarantee you it's tens and tens of millions. It could be as much as 100 million. I have no idea. You know how much Tucker's video cost? Nothing. You know how much Jimmy Kimmel, how many people he gets tuning in on an average night? Just last week, his average was, in the overall, meaning all viewers, 1.5 million. In the key demo, 236,000. Tucker would have been embarrassed to pull that on any night he was on the Fox News channel.
Joe Rogan couldn't believe what he was seeing. President Trump, still the sitting commander-in-chief, had just slammed Jimmy Kimmel with a $500 million lawsuit. Not a warning shot, not some stiff lawyer letter full of legal fluff. A straight-up $500 million haymaker. And Joe was already laughing before he even finished the headline.
There's not a chance in hell that this is funny or gonna work. And when you see those flat, corny, late-night monologue jokes with no audience, Colbert, there's Jimmy Kimmel, there's Fallon. What they're doing is just like reading off of a teleprompter. So a bunch of really good joke writers wrote them some stuff, and then they're playing to the audience, and the audience is like laughing, so they get this feedback, and they know how to do that. They stand there, and there's applause signs, and then there's producers. There's the warm-up guy that's literally telling people to applaud. They're like, okay, explain to the people. Yeah. Okay, when Jimmy comes out, I want a big round of applause. Let's practice this right now.
He leaned back, eyes wide, laughing like he'd just seen something unbelievable. Out of every headline out there, this one was pure comedy gold. Jimmy Kimmel, the guy who built a career on smug teleprompter jokes, had finally pushed the wrong buttons. And now the bear he poked wasn't just awake. It came charging with lawyers and the full force of the system. Joe jumped into the chaos like a kid opening the surprise sequel to his favorite game.
And do you know who's going to be hosting the Academy Awards this year? Jimmy Kimmel. Do you know who's worn blackface repeatedly and spoken inner city sort of urban accent saying she needs to darn those socks? Jimmy Kimmel as Oprah, as a fat-suited, black-faced, darning socks Oprah. Now, if you are of the left, that's fine. If you are of the right and happen to just say, hey, people used to wear blackface and nobody freaked out about it, you get fired.
He kicked it off by saying Jimmy Kimmel getting hit with a $500 million lawsuit was like watching a house cat pick a fight with a freight train. There's brave, and then there's whatever wild fantasy Kimmel was living in when he thought the President of the United States would just ignore a nightly wave of mockery. As Joe put it, Kimmel clearly confused monologues with protection, like hiding behind a desk somehow made him untouchable by the law.
Horrified after yours truly said in 2018 that people used to don dark makeup in order to imitate well-known black celebrities and it wasn't a big deal. absolutely ate up the performance by Hollywood darling Mr. Kimmel, whose blackface costumes included his oft-repeated bit as basketball star Karl Malone.
Joe went straight after the pure nerve of Kimmel's smug routine. Watching Jimmy crack political jokes, he said, is like watching a chihuahua bark orders at a SWAT team. It's loud, it's persistent, but no one's taking it seriously. And now that yapping came with a real price tag. Then Joe shifted to Kimmel's comedy style and started tearing it apart. It's the kind of stuff that makes a room full of nervous interns chuckle just enough to keep their jobs. It's not sharp, it's not bold, it's like warm milk, soothing, forgettable, and a slow death for real comedy.
Tucker's numbers were 3 times what Jimmy Kimmel gets. And Tucker's little basement video that he did from clearly like his cabin that he broadcasts out of Maine in literally has 21 million views. Okay, 21 million views. Whereas, as I point out, on ABC, a massive network that comes into your home for free, that you have to make no effort to find, at best, Jimmy Kimmel can get 1.5 million. He needs to have a little self-perspective before going out there and hurling these insults because he looks a little silly.
Rogan leaned in and said the real joke wasn't Jimmy's show, it was the fantasy that Kimmel still thought he was the cool kid in the cafeteria. Bro, you're a network puppet with a Hollywood laugh track. He said the rebellion ship sailed 10 years ago, and now you're just the guy clapping back at power like a substitute teacher who found a whistle. Kimmel going after Trump every night? Joe said it was like tossing a pebble at a freight train and bragging about the dent. Yeah, it gets attention, but now the train's suing you for the cost of a private island. He couldn't stop laughing at the mental image of Jimmy dialing his lawyers while frantically deleting old YouTube clips, like a kid erasing chalkboard insults before the principal storms in. Joe didn't stop there. He said this lawsuit wasn't just about money, it was psychological warfare. Trump didn't just want to win in court. He wanted to own Kimmel's headspace. He wanted Jimmy sweating through lunch breaks, whispering to baristas about defamation laws, waking up in cold sweats over court dates. Then came the knockout. The irony was almost poetic. The guy who built a career mocking celebrities was now crying foul because one of them wasn't laughing back. It's like the school bully whining because the quiet kid finally punched him in the face. Except the quiet kid is Trump, and he's got 500 million reasons to ruin your Wednesday. Joe doubled down, saying Kimmel's Trump jokes weren't even that clever. They were shallow zingers, the kind you'd expect from a bitter Twitter account with 10 followers and 0 hobbies. And somehow, Jimmy convinced himself he was a comedic revolutionary. Spoiler alert, Joe added, you're not Jon Stewart. And even Jon Stewart would have told you to change the script years ago.
The problem with that kind of stuff is it continues to go in the same direction where more and more things become forbidden and toxic, to the point where, you know, the Elon Musk joking around about my pronouns are prosecute Fauci. Jimmy Kimmel made a tweet back to him. He said, your pronouns are ass and hole, which is pretty funny. But then
Did he really?
Yes. And so then I read that, and there was people saying, please don't joke about pronouns. It's transphobic to joke about pronouns. So they were chiding him.
As Joe finished his takedown, he joked that the lawsuit might be the most excitement Jimmy Kimmel has seen live in years. At least now, he said, people have a reason to Google Kimmel that doesn't involve reruns or painfully awkward interviews with actors hyping flops and capes. And while Joe laughed at the absurdity, somewhere across town, Megyn Kelly was gearing up with a scalpel, not a punchline. She didn't enter the conversation cackling. She arrived calm, amused, and with the cool detachment of someone who's seen this play before. To Megyn, the Kimmel-Trump lawsuit wasn't just drama, it was inevitable theater. The court gesture finally crossed the line, and the king came down swinging with a golden gavel. Megyn didn't hold back. She said Jimmy Kimmel was the kind of guy who mistook Hollywood applause for relevance. He really believed mocking Trump in front of a clapping studio audience made him a resistance icon. In reality, he was just reading someone else's punchlines, soaked in safe sarcasm, delivered cold and stale. The only real risk in Kimmel's comedy, Megyn said, was that viewers might fall asleep before the second joke even landed.
How weak and pathetic is a guy like that? The Tonight Show, which is dying. They're all dying. Where's Johnny Carson? Bring back Johnny. It made you appreciate, right, Uncle Sam? It made you appreciate the greatness of Johnny Carson. I go on a show, and he goes, is that your real hair? I said, yeah. He said, do you mind if I mess it up? So he grabs it, and he starts really going crazy, right? And everybody laughed, and it was a big thing, and it was a big hit. It was all over the place, and he got great ratings and all. And 6 months later, he went out because he was under pressure to apologize because he humanized.
She dismantled Jimmy like a surgeon, calm, precise, and relentless. Megyn said he might have been funny once, maybe back in the Man Show days with its wild, questionable skits. But that Kimmel was long gone. What's left is a polished, corporate-approved shell, always outraged in a way that screams desperation. He's like the high school rebel who became a hall monitor, she said, and now wonders why no one takes him seriously. Then she hit the real punchline. Jimmy mocking Trump every day while acting like he was untouchable. It's one thing to throw shade, Megyn said. It's another to forget the guy you're roasting is also the president with lawyers that move faster than your teleprompter. Mocking Trump during his presidency? About as brave, she added, as yelling at a mirror, zero risk, maximum smug. She smiled at the lawsuit and called it pure karmic comedy. The man who built a career laughing at others was now staring down a legal avalanche for thinking he was untouchable. This isn't about free speech, she said. It's about cheap shots. And when those cheap shots finally cost something, you don't get to cry victim, especially when your whole act depends on provoking reactions for clicks and ratings. Megyn pictured Kimmel rushing back to his writer's room like it was a fallout shelter. His team was already scrambling, rewriting the next 10 monologues, trying to be edgy without landing another lawsuit. It's like watching a magician try to pull a rabbit out of a hat that's already been entered into evidence.
Last night was the 96th Academy Awards show, and while you might have missed it, there was one clear winner. No, not Oppenheimer. It was sanctimonious leftists for their lead role in pretending they are better than you. Several people shared in this achievement. Winner number 1, Jimmy Kimmel. For the 4th time, Kimmel hosted the Oscars before an adoring crowd of Hollywood stars who laughed and curried favor with the man who wore blackface so many times.
Megyn wasn't done, not even close. She said the lawsuit smashed the cozy illusion that late-night hosts exist in some untouchable comedy bubble. Kimmel had been feasting on anti-Trump material for years, acting like the fearless voice of the people, all while forgetting one key rule. If you live in a glass studio, maybe don't throw bricks at the president. Then she brought into focus and turned her sights on Hollywood itself. Jimmy's not just a guy with a mic, she said. He's a cog in a self-congratulatory media machine that thinks criticism is a one-way street. When Trump punches back, it's suddenly a national crisis. But when Jimmy unloads every night, it's just harmless comedy. She rolled her eyes at the double standard like she'd seen it 100 times and probably had. Then, with a sly smile, she joked that maybe this lawsuit was the best thing to happen to Kimmel in years. At least now, people were actually paying attention. Honestly, his ratings needed this punch in the face. She said Trump might not just bankrupt Kimmel, he might accidentally make him relevant again. Megyn painted the picture. Kimmel reading the lawsuit under moody lighting. Dramatic music swelling, and sweat dripping as the weight of it hit him. This wasn't a parody sketch. This wasn't a script. This was real. $500 million real. She finished with a jab straight at the wallet, saying Jimmy might have to start selling those desk mugs, the crocodile tears, and maybe even a few celebrity numbers just to cover what's coming at him next.
Nobody's going to care anymore. It's like you're seeing it take place with late night television. Nobody gives a fuck about it anymore.
I know.
And it's slowly, you have a bad business model and you're not adapting.
Yeah, the creativity's gone for late night comedy, right?
And then Megyn said what everyone else was thinking. This wasn't about silencing Jimmy Kimmel. It was about sending a message. Trump didn't just want a courtroom win, he wanted to make it crystal clear that the era of smug celebrity activism without consequences is over. If you're going to take shots at the king, you better hit your mark. And Jimmy? He missed like a blindfolded toddler throwing darts at the wrong wall. As the smoke settled, Joe and Megyn stood on opposite sides of the same battlefield, two very different voices, but completely in sync in disbelief and amusement. Because in the saga of Kimmel versus Trump, it wasn't just a legal showdown, it was a roast in disguise. And for Jimmy, the punchlines were finally hitting back. Joe jumped in again, practically doubled over with laughter, shaking his head like he just watched someone slip on a banana peel while carrying a wedding cake. He said the most poetic twist of all was that Jimmy finally got what he always wanted, Trump's attention. Just not the viral clip-chasing kind. The kind that comes in a thick stack of legal papers with a dollar figure so outrageous, it sounds like something a fourth grader made up to win an argument at recess.
Do you think that's him or a writer? Can't you tell?
Jimmy Kimmel?
Yeah.
No, it's him, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
good. That's a good one.
He's a comic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, he used to host The Man Show. I mean, he's done some pretty outrageous back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, for he-he's and ha-ha's.
No, that's a good joke on top of a good joke.
Yeah, it's a good joke.
Joe didn't hold back. He said Kimmel poked the bear but forgot this bear owns skyscrapers, an army of lawyers, and a presidential-level immunity to boredom. Trump didn't clap back with a tweet. He came in swinging like a wrecking ball. Now Jimmy's left holding a mic with no punchlines, surrounded by legal disclaimers. Joe joked that the next time Kimmel cracks a Trump joke, there'll be a row of attorneys front and center, like it's defamation, the musical. Then, in classic Joe Rogan fashion, he got a little philosophical. This whole mess proves being loud isn't the same as being brave. And just because you've got a camera doesn't mean you're untouchable. Kimmel thought he was fighting dragons. In reality, he was tossing spitballs at a tank. And now that tank, it's parked in his driveway with a lawsuit in one hand and a smug grin in the other.
Now, I will tell you, he's not the worst. The Daily Show has the worst ratings. They only have 366,000 people watching that show. During the Jon Stewart years, it was over 2 million. Now it's down to 300,000. Seth Meyers, absolutely dreadful. He doesn't even have 1 million, 778,000. I mean, for network television, this is, you don't have to pay for it. It's there when you turn on your TV, you plug it in. That's a dreadful number. Greg Gutfeld on cable, which you do have to pay for, it has more than double the numbers of Seth Meyers. Jimmy Kimmel, 1.5 million averaging, also equally horrible. And then there's The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, who back when I was there, 2017-18, he was averaging 2.3 million a night. Now he's down to 1.3 million, Jesse. And he cannot afford the "you are toxic" controversy because he's also pulling in reportedly over $15 million a year. So you got all that money for 1.5 million in audience, which is a nothing. I mean, the middle of the day on Fox News gets that, or at least used to before the Tucker controversy.
Meanwhile, Megyn lit her torch again, chuckling at the image of Kimmel spending his weekend frantically Googling. How many jokes equal defamation? She said, "The man who once pranced around as a comedy rebel is about to find out what real resistance looks like. No hashtags, no standing ovations from A-listers, just cold, hard legal firepower. The kind that doesn't care about applause or Emmy trophies." She said, Kimmel might try to spin this into another segment, maybe even fish for sympathy. But the truth is, he got too comfortable. He treated mocking Trump like a zero-risk hobby. Now the clock's running, the stakes are real, and Jimmy's the one scrambling. As the cameras rolled, Joe and Megyn found rare agreement. Kimmel was no longer the jester tossing safe jokes from the castle walls. He stepped into the arena, and the lion decided it was dinner time. That first roar, the $500 million lawsuit, was just the warm-up.